actually watched my stepfather break my mother's jaw, drag her through the backyard by the hair. I would call the police many, many times. My stepfather, I guess, disliked me because I was illegitimate and took abuse from him. He would whoop on me and on my mom. We had a really dysfunctional life. We moved around from home to home, city to city, state to state. So we never had any foundation. I never had any religion. As much as my stepfather hated the LDS Church and Christianity, and we had nothing to do with religion, these two young boys, they were LDS missionaries that I didn't know anything about, were wearing these little black tags, found me and said, "We want to teach you about the gospel and life." And I go, "Yeah, I know about you cultists." They talked me in to listen to this first discussion. For the first time in my life, I felt something that was different, where they would pray. They taught me how to pray. They taught me the basic principles of the gospel. They said, "Will you join the church?" And I said, "Sure." I got baptized, and I got a draft notice. There was a Vietnam War going on then. Quite a changing event from a guy with no rules, no obedience, to going to boot camp. And I got in a fight. I got busted to Lance Corporal. Now here we are, Corporal, barely making a living. I just get married. Me and my stupid fists get me in a fight and trouble. I think it was 2 weeks later, I get orders to Vietnam. 53,000 great American soldier patriots had died. I'd had some experiences that told me I was going to die in Vietnam. When I got there, I really felt I was going to not make it. And just as we were getting ready to leave in country and leaving my wife and crying, it was awful, we found out she got pregnant. So I'm headed to Vietnam. I lost my stripe, demoralized, thinking I'm gonna die, leaving my woman, my favorite person on the planet, with a child. And then you get to Vietnam, and it's an awful thing, war. But to cope with war, Parker, everybody's smoking dope, opium soaked marijuana. Some guy breaks out LSD, hallucinogenic drug, and he was getting ready for all of us to have an acid trip. And all of a sudden, I thought of these doggone two missionaries and all these weird things. And I remember asking this Marine, I said, "Hey, wait a minute, I've heard this stuff bad for you and it's not that great. What's so great about it? I'm happy." And he said, "Bud, it's the greatest thing you'll ever feel." The best way I can explain it, you just feel love. You feel this high. You'll never feel a sensation in any other way that's awesome. And he gave me this example. He said, it's like holding a baby. And you look at it and you can just feel this love and closeness with this baby. And I remembered that was the same example this missionary had given me about how you feel a spiritual, loving moment, like holding a newborn. Immediately, I knew the drug was a counterfeit to a spiritual experience. Immediately, I knew if I were to do that, I'm done. I'm headed down this path of drugs, alcohol, and I related to my family and the unhappiness they found in alcohol and abuse. And I said, I will not partake. And it was the hardest thing I ever did because the peer pressure was enormous. And I took with me my buddy Nate, and we went into a bunker. We get rocket attacks at night. I was in this area in Chulai then, and all of a sudden we had this enormous experience. It's really sacred to me that I don't really talk about. In the bunker, in the dark, where I knew the gospel was true. I knew I was on the wrong path. And I knew Satan had me by the clutches and his followers. And I knew that if I didn't change it, I was gonna die in Vietnam and not see my family. And I made, in that bunker, a promise. I said, God, if you'll get me out of here, if you'll let me see my baby and my wife, I promise you, I will do my very best to live these principles and the gospel doctrine of Christ. And I made that promise, and I felt this lifting of this burden about me. I got through it, stopped all my bad stuff, bad habits, was discharged honorably from Vietnam. And through that, we would go to church then every week. We'd have family home evening, and our family was unified because we lived the principles, held on that iron rod, and I was able to raise these beautiful children into now. I've got 4 beautiful daughters, a great son, 25 grandchildren, 6 beautiful great-grandchildren, And I'm a happy man with a happy life, living the everlasting covenant of marriage with the woman that I want for time and eternity, all because of two missionaries, not being afraid to talk to some low-life kid that was from Compton and had no family into getting baptized, and then the inspiration that came through these chains of events that made my family who we are today. God loves all of his children. If he loved some kid that was illegitimate, born in poverty, raised in Compton, kicked out of school, a total disaster, to line me up with the opportunities I found when I promised that I would live this gospel. He loved me, he loves you, and there's an opportunity that he wants to give everybody in this planet salvation. I know it with all my heart, and I'm just grateful and a happy guy. And I'll tell all my kids I love them with all my heart. Stay the course. This is where life and happiness is. I know what happens when you get off course, and I know we all need corrections, but stay the course and you'll find life and happiness in this life and the next life, which is the best, because that kingdom is the greatest reward of all.